Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by 10th Man, Neil, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Good morning, good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine, thanks for asking.
I'm very well, thank you for asking also. How's everyone in Discord? Get a quick sound check.
Yeah, you're working. Good morning.
Good.
Hello.
Let's crack on with a bit of housekeeping. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere-edge horizon formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
Hello.
No. Hello, Arwen. No, you're going to need R for that.
Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
You mean the lack of 15 degrees?
No, Bob, prove it. Prove the rotation of the Earth with 15 degrees per hour deviation. But nothing else does deviate. It's, yeah. Or it's only in one direction that things deviate. It's a really cryptic system of Coriolis deviation.
So
Yeah,
in other words,
but then you get a guy like Virus, and he don't even acknowledge the thanks, Bob.
Yeah, well, he can change his pants and leave him too, so...
that's an interesting visual.
So have we made up our mind? Is there 15 degrees or isn't there?
No, there's not. Look, if the Earth was turning, we'd all know it, and we wouldn't be having this show.
You'll also need R for that.
Yes. Well, you need R. Let's just get out of the way. You need R for everything because they assume we live on a sphere with an R. And since they assume we live on a sphere with an R, everything is based on R. Yet nothing works with R because there is no R.
Well, my son would say, you're not going to feel the movement because Earth is so big, and it's you're not going to feel it. That's all.
What's the speed that he's talking about, miles per hour, and where is he exactly that you're not going to feel it? I feel movement every time I'm on something that moves. I feel movement in the car, in the train, in the airplane. I feel it all the time when I'm moving.
The way he was saying it to me was, if you get on something, the bigger the thing is that you get on it, you're going to feel less and less movement. Now picture the Earth, the massive size of the Earth. I mean, it's nonsense. I agree, but I'm just telling you how their train of thought is.
Well, let's see. It's either the luminaries that are moving or the Earth that's moving, correct?
Correct.
And he's saying the Earth is moving and not the luminaries, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so then when you get off the Earth, shouldn't the Earth be turning under you at whatever speed he wants? If you hover for an hour over the same spot, wouldn't that be 15 degrees?
Yes, but that's when you get into the...
Hang on. Yes, that's it. Yes. but it doesn't happen.
And then he gets into the Earth and atmosphere moving as one nonsense.
No, that don't work either because Mitchell from Australia put up a drone, and we still saw the star trails and the stars moving, not the Earth. So, sorry, Charlie.
Reference frame ruined.
What, Owen?
Sorry,
Reference
Jacob.
frame's ruined.
Well, third time's a charm.
Reference frame's ruined.
Oh, right, Simon
not
Dan
ours, though.
quotations. Yeah, right, you and your reference frames have been ruined. Yeah, I don't have any. You do. 2 of them to claim 15 degrees an hour deviation as Earth turns underneath. Shame we don't see that
Maybe-
effect, eh?
Maybe it was a self-admission. Their reference frames are ruined, and they're blaming it on you.
Well, precisely, he's an anti-flat earther, so essentially bracing against us and our refute of their claim that we have Coriolis drifts to the tune of 15 degrees an hour results in him debunking our claim that the globe claims it should have 15 degrees an hour and inadvertently debunks his own claim.
I know. It's so good.
Well, embarrassing, if you want to call that good.
Well,
There's a guy. Go ahead.
they can't admit in the debate, okay, you win, we don't see it. So they have to wait until you express their version of what the globe is, and then claim that your expression of how the globe is ruined.
Yeah, but there's a guy. Somebody posted in I don't know if it was the War Room or Master B, and he's claiming that there's no such thing as reference frames at all.
Who cares? We don't claim it. So, okay, well, go and tell anybody that's claiming Earth turns underneath as a second reference frame that there's no such thing as reference frames. I don't care. It's not our claim.
Exactly. We don't have any reference frames, as far as I'm concerned.
Like, as a flat earther, oh, right, we've got no reference frames. Oh, tragic. That's going to really ruin my claim of, yeah, I don't have any claim that uses reference frames, so I couldn't care less. Hey, Brian.
Hello.
Hey, Nathan. Hey, everyone.
Hello. Good to have you. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Hang on, he was going to say something.
Oh, Brian's
It's over there.
No, it's fine. I was just going to say, good to be here, that's all. And no, there is no evidence of any distance to the sun. Unless you've got a one-way speed of light measurement, Nathan.
See, I think what happens is when you argue it so hard, back to the Coriolis, that they seem to think that we need reference frames.
That's because they're not used to actually defending their claims, the claims that they believe in. They're only used to defending against us reminding them about what their claims are. And then they start to kind of like entangle it in their minds, and then they think it's that those things are actually our claims. When it's actually their claims, they just don't like to talk about it because then it becomes apparent how incredibly fallacious they all are.
Well, they like to create strawman arguments that we don't make, usually taken from the Flat Earth Society website. Flat Earthers claim that blah, 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 that now I'm going to debunk that. So they just use a strawman.
Well, that's when they try to attack our model, right? But in reality, when facing us, for example, they spend most of their times just denying their claims. Right? That's not what they read on the Flat Earth Society. That's what they have to do in response to us reminding them what the consequences of claiming a spinning globe Earth really is.
Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
No evidence for that either.
Really? Okay.
How can
No, I just-
how can gas press on the walls of its container, Nathan, if it's got inertia?
How can gas press on the walls of its container without inertia, did you say?
No, if it's got inertia, as the ballers claim, how can gas be pressing on the walls of its container? Wouldn't that require it to be, resisting acceleration?
See what you're saying? You're saying if it's got if the gas itself has a resistance to acceleration, isn't it a contradiction to say it's pressing? Shouldn't it be resisting acceleration if it's got inertia? Is that what you're saying?
Well, it would make it impossible to be pressing on the walls of its container, wouldn't it? If it had inertia, it means it would be resisting acceleration, not embracing it. How could it be pressing on the walls of its container? Because it would be resisting doing that.
Maybe. But gas definitely does do that.
Yeah, but it doesn't have inertia.
I have evidence.
Because if it did, it
Here we
wouldn't be
go.
doing that.
Who said that? Go ahead.
Me, Eric.
Eric, go ahead.
We don't have a container because if we did have a container, we would all die because of infrared light and global warming. We would heat up so fast that we would burn up and die.
What makes
That would
What?
require
Hold
an
on.
ozone layer.
Hold on. What makes you come to that conclusion?
Oh, we have climate change and global warming. It's heating up 1 degree per year. So if we were contained, it would heat up so fast that we'd all burn up and die.
Not climate
Even
change,
if we
climate emergency.
even if we allowed to have gas pressure next to a vacuum without containment, what would the heat exchange between the air and a vacuum be?
I don't understand the question.
You're saying it would heat up, but in the Bohr model it wouldn't. How much heat exchange do you get into a vacuum?
That was going to be where I went next, Adam. Perfect. I was actually going to ask, how do you achieve the gas rising in temperature in the first instance? Just a segue from how you achieve gas pressure in the first instance. But if you're saying we're heating up, right, it's going to be heating up the medium of the air, correct?
Yeah, the carbon emissions and the methane, it keeps in the infrared light from the sun, and it's heating up because we're emitting so much gas. And if we were contained, if we had a firmament, it would actually be even worse. It'd be such a greenhouse that we'd be burning up. And it'd
A
be so hot
greenhouse.
and we would die.
A greenhouse. Excellent. I was waiting for that word. So like a container then, sort of containing all those gases.
Yeah, greenhouse.
Like a
effect.
container.
Yeah, the gas itself is the container and it keeps in the heat.
Gas itself is a container. How does that work?
Scientists say, experts say, that this is what's happening. And where are you? Are you an expert on greenhouse?
I think that's an ad-hom there.
What's this?
I am.
Appeal to,
Sorry,
gas.
hold on.
I am.
Hello. Scientists say what? What do they say?
That the Earth is heating up rapidly because of greenhouse gas emissions. Because we all know that at the top of the atmosphere, it's all a big blocker of sunlight escaping, right?
Paul,
Can I please address that?
Paul, hold on a second, guys. Paul, you're off mute. I don't know if that's intentional.
Well, I wanted to say something. I was just waiting for my turn. Just come back to it.
No, go ahead.
Well, he made a claim that the climate is increasing, temperature's increasing. Now, if the scientists saying that, that's just a baseless assertion. So what's the basis for that information that he's asserting? That's all I'm asking for.
Shouldn't be prefaced by now. I mean, when I was a kid, scientists said that in the 70s that by the year 2000, London will be underwater. But shouldn't it now be prefaced with some scientists say, and some others say the complete opposite?
How about pseudoscientists say?
Well,
By the way,
Neil, yeah.
By the way, as a panel member, I own 6 greenhouses, so I'm an expert in greenhouses.
I
would just-
gas.
I would just like to state that there's 3 things that we know for certain you cannot have without containment: vacuum, temperature, and pressure. You need containment for those 3 things, gas pressure. You can't have any of those 3 things without containment.
Well,
And
you could say you can't have the
hang on,
greenhouse
hang on.
effect without a greenhouse.
You can't, no.
Dude, I want to know about
I'm not
self-containing
finished.
gas
One
globule.
second. One second. This is the thing. we have to bring it back to the origin of the claim, and it starts with a hole in the ozone layer. There is ozone, right, at around 20 miles up is at its highest concentration, 18 to 22, right? We say 20 as an average. It's highest concentration. This is according even to NASA, right? Its highest concentration, right, at 20 miles up is 15 parts per million. Now, how spaced apart are all those 1 million parts? Let's just say. All those 50, well, let's say how spaced apart is all the particles of that at that height, right? There is no ozone layer, right? So if you're going to claim climate change or global warming that starts with an ozone layer, you've got to prove there is an ozone layer, and you can't, because even NASA states that there's only 15 parts per million at its highest concentration at 20 miles up. What is the air pressure at that? It's minus 10 to the minus 2 or 10 to the minus 3 torr.
So why is it then I can only smell ozone when I'm at sea level, not when I'm up at a mountain? Bunker, mate, what they're talking, isn't it?
Yeah, even the creation of the ozone requires O2, large amounts of O2. So it needs large amounts of O2 to create the O3. If you look into oil, I have looked into it. You know, up at that height, you have like it wouldn't be 10 to the minus 2, maybe 10 to the minus 1 torr at about 20 miles up. You know, something like that. So how spaced apart will be all them particles? All those O2s, let's just say.
Well,
How many
maybe
O2s could that be?
maybe
No.
it functions homeopathically.
Yeah, but how many O2s could there be to create O3? Like 15 parts per million. And that's just a calculation, remember. That's just calculated.
Okie dokie then. So back to Eric. These gases that contain themselves, how does that work?
I don't know. I just wanted to get the conversation going because we just had an election here in Canada, and everything's about climate change. And coming from my perspective, like now that I'm a flat earther, I just wanted to get the conversation going because it's such nonsense that
Okay.
I don't even
What
know where to begin. Like I can destroy it with the flat earth argument.
What are they currently claiming? Are they claiming it's getting too hot or getting too cold? It's normally one or the other that they're saying. Which one is it currently? I don't keep up to date with this stuff.
That it's getting too hot.
Hot.
Like I just learned. I really haven't looked into it before, but I just decided to start looking into it because of flat Earth. But yeah, I don't even know how it would work.
Now? Do you have a summer in Canada? Is that a thing?
Yeah.
You sure? I've been to Canada.
It was actually Eric, a question, please. Eric, are they saying climate change or climate emergency? Because in the States, they have changed it to climate emergency now.
Yeah, they say climate change here, yeah.
You know, I live in the South, and my climate changes all the time. So what's the point?
Called seasons, isn't it?
Yeah, I was waiting to drop that in at some point, Adam. From like mine today, it seems.
But the claim is that carbon dioxide and methane are the concentration is so excuse me, the concentration is so strong in that atmosphere that it's blocking in infrared light from the sun. But I'm like, wouldn't entropy cause it, like the gas to disperse like so like little that it wouldn't even make a difference? Because I see the demonstration.
Exactly. Dispersion of gases into available volume is entropy, and that's precisely what would happen unless we had a greenhouse around us.
The claim for this is that CO2 molecules, they reflect some of the UV light that comes back off the surface and reflect it back down to the surface in that increased concentration. If you take that supposition that that's what's supposedly causing this global warming that we're not measuring, actually you would expect to see cooling, because if there's a greater concentration, then the rebound effect is both ways. And you've got a large input which you have increased the reduction, the rebound effect in on the way in. Yeah. So you end up reflecting more away by that mechanism. You allow less in. even if you are retaining some. So again, one of those chemical things that I never understood. That
It's all
with
about
regards
selling
to it.
electric cars.
Yeah. But it's all about claiming that the planet was warming. That's not demonstrable. That's not evidenced. Like I said, when I'm nearly 50 now, when I was a kid, London by the year 2000 was going to be underwater. It hasn't. Nothing's changed. Amsterdam's still where it is.
And it's not a planet. That'd be the start
here's the
of
other thing
global
too.
warming.
Correct.
That's
Hold on, just one sec, guys, and G plus. Go ahead,
Well,
Paul.
Yeah, even if that's the case, let's say climate change is real, so to speak. You would have to know maybe this is a cyclical thing within the system we live in. So you're saying it's bad now, but what if it happened in the past and the system is set up?
Well, I
So you're
vaguely
calling
remember.
something bad when it could.
Wasn't that what they claimed in the 70s, that it was going to go into an ice age, or maybe it was even earlier than that?
Yeah, there's been ice ages, supposedly over several times. So
But
another
gas,
thing too, isn't there this other living organism that thrives on CO2? You might know what that stuff is.
What,
Living
plants?
organisms that thrives on it.
Called trees and
Plants, okay.
plants. And
What?
Seaweed.
Yep. Yeah. Yes,
It-
Paul.
But the CO2 was supposed to have dropped since all the lockdowns came in. So I don't know what that kind of contradicts our claims.
listen, they're trying to sell electric cars. That's what it's all about.
No. You're missing it all. It's the same game. If we can fix it all by taxing it. Okay, taxes will save the world.
Can I insert something?
Sure. Whoever that was.
It also gets back to control. It's weather control.
Okay. Bendy,
We've
space
gone
time. Go ahead.
from to 250 parts per million to 450 parts per million, and that's, if you just think about it, that's the difference. That's like 2.5 out of 10,000 to 4.5 out of 10,000, and that's what they're trying to claim, that's the difference between a stable climate and catastrophe.
Have they given it a colour? I'm only really susceptible to these sorts of fear-mongering tactics if they've got a colour ascribed. If it's an orange colour, then I'll be terrified. If it's red, I'll be jumping out the window.
It's been red.
It's
for
red,
over a
Nathan.
decade
Red?
now.
Jesus. Time to jump out the window.
Have a nice trip.
That was Bob, I think.
Hey, Bob. Good to have you.
Good morning, Nathan.
Any
Do you have an
scientific...
appointment, Bob?
Oh, don't get on him. He's fresh slate every day here. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
No, you're going to need R for that. Center of M1 and M2.
And it's an undefined effect.
Say again, Brian, I cut you off.
Oh yeah, Nathan, I cut you off actually. It's an undefined effect.
Right, any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, atomic clocks prove gravity.
What? Do you want to expand on that, Arwin?
Well, atomic clocks are supposedly, according to George Nathan Oakley, creating a differential in time creates time travel. So if time travel exists, then that means that Einstein was right about his pseudo-Riemannian force space. And since gravity exists in pseudo-Riemannian force space, that means that it has a grounds to exist.
What's time?
Over there.
No, what is time?
A concept.
Yeah.
Can you travel concepts? Is that something we can do?
Well, apparently, according to atomic clocks.
Apparently, appearing but not actual.
Well, it works in the math.
Well, good okay. That's good to know.
How does the decay rate of cesium have anything to do with an agreed upon convention?
Well, it's said, according to George, to be really reliable and stable and unalterable. So if it then changes due to some mysterious factor, then that means you literally have time pass in a different...
Stop. Hello.
Exit.
Let me get it correct before Adam takes my point for the third time on this show. So the effect we're describing was what again? Somebody said it.
The passing of time?
No, that wasn't the effect that was just described. There was something physically happening. Say again, Brian.
Yeah, the entropy rate.
Don't try again, Arwin. Brian, go ahead.
The decay rate of cesium.
So that's our effect, is it?
Yeah.
Right. And of course, we've validated the cause of that effect. That's not time travel, by the way, Arwin.
Well, it all depends, right? How
Does
much
it?
does
Oh, here we go.
And would your conscious experience also reflect that? Would you
What the hell,
actually, in
you
your
bloody hippie?
consciousness-
No. No, I'm not going to be asked about my conscious experience of this. If we've got a cause and effect relationship being asserted, in this case, bloody time travel, yeah, I'm going to want to see that as an effect. Now, when it comes down to the nitty-gritty and the brass tacks of what we're actually studying here, it seems like we're looking at the decay rate of a material. Am I right?
Yes.
Right, that's our effect. Well, there's a method in place for establishing the cause of that effect. Has that been done? Because if it has, even if it has, that's going to establish the cause of the decay rate of that material. That's going to establish the cause of it and nothing more. It's not going to give you a time travel description.
No, but hold
Who came
on.
up with this shite?
Yeah, but you can absolutely calculate it, though.
Don't tell me
because-
about calculating. I don't care. Right? Who came up with this garbage?
No, but the entropy rate seems to increase due to a greater distance away from the source of gravity, right? That happens to be the correlation. So that means that gravity must have an actual
Entropy?
impact on the experience of time, which totally proves
Can't let
that
you have that,
gravity
Owen.
exists.
Further
Entropy.
away from the
And we
ground.
went to the moon.
You
with the
all had to
calculation.
interrupt that, didn't you?
Yes.
You knew it was going to be nonsense, but
Okay,
you
yeah,
didn't
we
let
did, we
me
did.
finish
We
it,
did,
though,
we
because
did, we did.
I
Hello,
can't
hello.
just put
Gotta
down
rein
a
him in.
piece of art without everybody interrupting it. What a waste.
Yes, thank you. I'm
You
sure
knew
in that
it was gonna be
little bit of chaos, Arwin had the best proofs ever during that little bit of chaos, didn't you, Arwin? Just nobody heard it, did it? It was totally
Yeah,
unreasonable
that's right.
on everybody.
That's
Got
right.
so
Adam.
unreasonable. People had to. You tried to railroad us with gravity and acceptance of gravity in the middle. That's when people kicked in. It was a gut reaction as you tried to force an acceptance of gravity in the middle of that, and I weren't accepting that. That had to be stopped. We could
Any
carry
true
on.
Well,
entropy
then you
before
don't
that, so that's what
appreciate
I'm
art.
Just don't, hold on. Let's
Actually,
just
an
rein Arwin in.
interesting argument,
Everybody,
Arwin.
hold on. Because otherwise, if we don't rein Arwin in, this is going to be audio chaos for the next 10 minutes. Come on, Arwin, be reasonable. We did ask the gravity question before you slipped it in after it came in housekeeping. So, come on, play fair.
I will recognise
did.
the art, Arwin. It was beautifully put and almost slipped by.
Yeah, I want to make a comment about this atomic clocks and this so-called bending of time, whatever. The problem is, let's say they have shown that somehow those clocks are different, right? They haven't shown that this thing that's manipulating this clock also affects other things. All they've proven is this thing affects clocks, and a clock is not time.
Well, Arwin did
You
say
understand?
something about a change in entropy.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did, didn't I? And the rate of entropy is the only standard we even have to determine time, to calculate it, to derive it. So mathematically, I'm correct.
So if that's the case, then hold on. The entropy should be slower, or the rate of it should be slower at my feet than it is at the top of my head. So the gas particles should be moving off faster as you get away from a gravitational
Hold
field,
on,
right?
what are we doing?
Are
What's
we-
going on? Stop. What's going on?
Yep.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Stop. Right. How have we gone from an assertion of time travel linked to what is actually an entropic decay rate asserted as a cause and effect relationship with a just so story attached, to us now describing potentially mathematically how this entropic effect is in any way linked back to the original point, be it scientific evidence of gravity, as that's now thrown into the mix thanks to Alwyn, thank you Alwyn, or any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics. Have we got any of that out of this? We've got decay rates for time, and this is nonsense.
Yes.
All
Yes,
I'm
gravity
saying-
proof can be found within astrophysics, because astrophysics is the only thing that actually encourages you to imagine how gravity is a pseudo-Riemannian force space thing that actually decreases in strength over distance, even though that's all very bizarre and all that. But because of the entropy rate differential that is claimed to exist, there is some kind of a lead that could help you into mind experimenting that gravity may actually have scientific proof.
I think the first bit you said, if change in entropy rate is a very nice way of putting it, yeah, then we seem to be making the giant leap that if change in entropy rate, then that is time travel. That
Yeah.
somehow the reason that the cesium's decayed at a different rate isn't because it has decayed at a different rate, it's because it's entered a different time field. The time travels at a different rate. That's the claim. That's the mind, the thought experiment that they do, Arwen, to me, is to link those two things that they have. That is the cause of the decay rate changing is time travel.
No, I disagree, but that specific angle of approach does legitimize the pseudo-Riemannian space-time dimension part.
Well,
Specifically.
they're actually kind of, I don't know, a decay in the rate of decay of cesium. Is that causing the time travel, or is time
No.
travel causing that? Do you know what I
No.
mean? We have
No,
an
it's
effect.
synchronous.
All we need
It's
to do now
synchronous.
is put it through a scientific method and find out what the cause.
What your Brian's now assumption of time travel needs to be put through the scientific method? I think not. Right, I'm going to do a couple of quick shout outs. The first one will have to have me offer some interjection after the fact in the interest of balance. So, the Science of Science says, thank you very much first and foremost for the super chat, everyone should look up the grand solar minimum debunks the man-made climate change instantly. That's all well and good, but in the interest of balance, Science of Science, we're all going to die. It's going to get too hot. Okay, just for balance. Also, shout out to Ben White, who says 1.21 gigawatts. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat. Also, flatten the curve. He says, duh, I'm a globe head and I'm stupid. Duh, I'm pinned to this side of the pressurized ball that's floating in an infinite vacuum. Okay, flatten the curve. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat. As you were, that was it.
But the experience of like time travel is even like, what is that? I know it's been popularized from a personal perspective, right? In TV, movies, and all that. So that's kind of ingrained with our association. But what is it really? Let's get scientific. Ooh, right? It's supposed to be just like, oh, the entropy rate, which is also the guide for the linearity of our own experience, changes because of gravity, condensing space-time, causing time to slip by more quickly, right? And then to your experience, nothing really happens, except if you can see outside of that condensed region where time slips by more quickly, and then you'll see the difference. But in that region, you won't see any difference. And that's what we experience as time travel. But it's not actually traveling through time, right? It's just how fast do things go through their entropic changes. That's real time travel.
Okie dokie.
That was some waffle.
Yeah, what a load of nonsense.
Hey, it'll make the
That was
History Channel.
Some people were rubbish.
I'm
I
worried.
bet I
about
could
you,
make the
Arwen.
History Channel with that.
Probably.
Okay. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth, as we're talking nonsense?
Got one other bit of nonsense to add to that, and we're
Ha!
talking really if height, aren't we? Because this appears to be the thing that allows you to travel. Because the way in which they demonstrate it is take the clocks up into an aeroplane and fly around with them higher. Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, but the thing we use mostly for measurement of time is the sun. That seems to be the thing. So if they flew around for 24 hours, one complete pass of the sun, and it came back, yeah, that's a day. Irrespective of what the clocks say, no time has changed. Yeah, relatively. All you've got is a faulty clock that doesn't fit with the celestial clock of the sun. So all you've demonstrated is by sticking on an aeroplane, flying around with it a bit, it doesn't work properly. That seems to be the only conclusion, and the only variable you change in, like I said, is if height. So if height of a cesium clock, then time travel.
Or well, not even
Well,
time travel. It's
sorry.
it's if travel up and fly around a bit, then induced difference in man-made conceptual tracking device. So what?
Well, they claim to have. I can't remember if the rate that they claimed, the rate of time that they claimed, sped up when they were going east to west and slowed down west to east, or vice versa. But the only thing that they could really point at there, besides the fact that they created this whole effect, would be, well, what do they know that is definitely moving east to west? The sun. So, would the sun or the stars or anything else, like, would any of them, would the sun be affecting it in any way, the cesium rate?
You'd need to control
we
that,
don't know what
right,
the sun
wouldn't you?
is. Sorry?
You'd need to control that, wouldn't you, in your experiment?
Yeah.
No.
How would you do any of that?
No. Don't imply that there's some sort of science to this when it's troubleshooting a piece of technology. If you're studying how the effects of motion in the air at altitude will affect a clock, that's you troubleshooting. That's a bit of technology that you're trying to tinker with.
It's exactly that. The phenomena is within the apparatus again. It's not natural. It's this piece of equipment doesn't work when I put it here. That's me phenomena.
Yeah, I mean, if I take it to a greater extreme, because it's a clock, right? Oh, it's based on this decay rate, so it's super accurate. It's like, so what? So you've taken several conventions, boshed them all together, and then said that one of the man-made devices that we use to track a convention, not very well, I might add, changes when you go up at altitude. Wowee. So what? Time travel, my ass. That's what you heliocentrists believe in. Time travel. And what else do they believe in? Aliens. All kinds of nonsense. Little green men from outer space.
Well, what they did is Einstein started off with the cause and they induced an effect. That's all they always do. So Einstein gave them the cause, right? The curvature of space-time. Right? He gave them the cause and they went off and found the effects. That's all any of these investigations ever do, any of them. The Hafele Keating or the Pound Repka, any of these kind of things. It's all like, we found the effect. We induced the effect somehow, and we already have the cause. So Einstein gave them the cause, and then they came up with the effect. So they don't need to find the cause because Einstein already gave it to them without giving them an effect. They went off and found the effects themselves.
Hey, Nathan.
So it's backwards.
Hello.
Yeah, Nathan, you've got an interesting conversation going here. I'll come back another time.
Okay. Did he think we were on tenterhooks?
You know who
to talk
that
to him?
is, right?
Yeah,
You know who that is,
I
right?
welcomed him and said it was good to have him. I think he's got this self-delusion of importance that we were all sat here waiting for him.
Who
I
was
just
that?
don't get it.
That's the dude that made an appointment. So we know you still hear us. We don't give a shit about you.
We're doing housekeeping. The point of this is for anybody to challenge, ideally from Discord if you don't agree, at any point. I mean, we've had Arwin playing devil's advocate the whole time. I mean, I don't know what he thinks the process is for, but going through housekeeping, if you're still listening, Bob, is for you to interject and say, no, you're wrong. I do have evidence of the R value. Any evidence of R?
Negative.
Just to clear that up, just in case anybody's got the wrong impression, I didn't think I'd have to do this, but probably thanks to Neil. There are no appointments here. Just join and have at it. That's open door policy. Anybody can join at any time. You don't have to make an appointment. I don't care if you come or not. Literally. Couldn't care less who comes, who stays, who talks.
Exactly.
Well, just on the or question, you'd have to. You see, the problem with that is or has. It's like the Einstein thing I said a second ago. Einstein gave them the cause, and they came up with the effect. They didn't see any effects first. They had to induce them through man-made apparatuses. There's no effects that we see, right, for that, right, for what Einstein speaks about or spoke about. But it's the same thing with the mathematics for the globe, for our value. The average 3959 or whatever, like that's something that it started off. It seems to have started off like it's just calculation. Like, but where's the measurement for that? How would you go about measuring that? Like, there was the claim first of Eratosthenes, but he had to pre-assume that the light rays from the sun were parallel to make that work. Otherwise, he was just measuring a flat diameter. Then you have Alberuni, right? He had to pre-assume that the astronomical horizon was real, and that the horizon, the visible horizon, was a geometric horizon. But we know now it's not. It's optical, not geometric. So how would you go about measuring this? Like, if there's a claim that there is or, then there needs to be a way of measuring it. You have to measure something for it to be real.
Exactly.
Like, where is the measurement?
Exactly, and that's precisely what I've asked for when it was Cats and Pat, going back about a month now. So, where's R? If you're going to argue with us about how much drop you've got or how much stuff's being obscured by horizons, then you need R for every one of those claims. So, we're going to want to know where you've measured it. Now, Brian's just rattled off all of the existing, or known to us, ways of acquiring R by you, the sphere-believing Fundy Muppets. Well, we've debunked them all.
Well,
further to that... Go on, Brian.
Oh, you go ahead, Nathan.
I was going to say, further to that, we're now poking fun at people like Alberuni. Because how did he get the height of the mountain to then go and derive an R value by way of a dip angle measurement to the horizon that he's made an assumption is geometric? Well, he measured the mountain's height on a flat plane. So in order to assume he can get an R value from a physical geometric sphere edge Earth curve horizon, he first had to measure the height of the mountain on a flat plane. That's a fact. And by fact, I mean probably a made-up story. Alberuni may not have even existed. But in your rhetoric, the facts of your rhetoric are Alberuni had to assume the Earth was flat so he could assume the Earth was a sphere. First, he measured the mountain on a flat plane. Then he went up it and assumed the horizon was a geometric sphere edge he could get a dip angle measurement from. So first flat plane, then his assumption of a sphere.
Well, I know the way we speak about, we term it the black swan, but really we're just speaking about the horizon being an optical location and not a geometric location. And we always speak about it as being a debunk of the global or globe geometry. But technically, it's a proof that the Earth is not a globe, because the horizon has to be geometric. It would have to be geometric for the Earth to be a globe. There was no way around that. There would have to be a geometric horizon.
Right.
But the horizon is even defined as being optical. So technically, it is a proof that we're not a globe. Like it is a proof that it's a horizontal plane.
Well, no, not quite. The black swan doesn't prove we're on a horizontal plane because it's not making any extrapolation beyond the assertion of the geometric limits a sphere would offer. So once in that modus tollens argument you debunk the first premise, the only thing you have left after that is logical inference. And it is not a stretch to take that logical inference from the black swan. So I'm not saying it's unreasonable to take that step, but it isn't part of the argument. It is most definitely just a globe debunking. And I say just, I don't want to downplay it in any way, shape or form, but that isn't a flat earth proof. The sextant is, because it relies on geometry, and we don't see a geometric horizon cries of the globe side. So if we haven't got a geometric horizon and we're establishing horizontal with the horizon, shockingly, and then we're making a geometric assumption that we can draw a straight flat line to the GP of any star, then the assumption that we are utilising is a flat earth assumption. Now, were that to be incorrect, i.e. the ground was actually falling away from you at 8 inches per mile squared, then it would not function. You wouldn't be able to work your way around that surface by way of triangulation, because it wouldn't be triangulation anymore. So the geometric assumption of a flat plane that must first be made to do straight lines with triangles is, in effect, and is utilising the horizon as a starting point to gain horizontal. What a shock. We're using something that's got the word horizon in it. Something that's got the word horizontal in it, in effect, to gain horizontal. That's what the horizon is. So using it to then assume that thousands of miles beyond it, beyond your view, is still the exact same level surface, is how the sextant operates. It's a geometric tool that requires you to assume the Earth is flat, and it works after you do. So it's a flat Earth proof, unlike the black swan, which is a globe debunking. But they do work hand in hand. They are very much symbiotic arguments, because, but for the fact that we've had 20 months of them saying, we don't see a geometric horizon, and it's all refracted, we wouldn't be able to say, where'd you get a straight line then? Because if the black swan hadn't existed and we just said the sextant proves a flat earth, you take an angle to the horizon, they'd just say, yeah, we do too. And who would be arguing with it? We wouldn't be digging out Andrew Thomas Young saying, look, this obscure dude says that it's all bent. And you've got atmospheric refraction. Before the black swan existed, there were circumstances after the Isle of Man debate where they'd have the globe believers or anti-flat earthers would have somebody present a picture of something in the distance, and they'd go to the maths and say, look, I don't even need refraction. It matches with the pure geometry. And be like, what do you mean you don't need refraction? You've argued with us at the Isle of Man for so long about how it's refracted. Now what do you mean you don't need it? Well, they mean, we'll just apply the figures that best suit. In this case, it's no atmo day, because no atmo day matches with the picture. And you're like, okay, roll on the black swan, and it's cemented in their rhetoric. Their claim of atmosphere always, never no atmo day. Well, we're all certain about that. Why are we so certain about that fact? About the globe Earth? Because they've told us for 20 months. So we're all absolutely clear. We've got a position set in stone. Never no atmo day, always refracted. I think we've got it now. It's been 20 months of you telling us that's your rebuttal to the black swan. Roll on the sextant. Where'd you get a straight line then? Bye, Bob. Not that he's here now, but you know what I'm getting at.
Well, what I would say, like I would have said the same concerning the black swan up until recently. But the problem is this, right? The horizon is never and has never not and will never not be an optical location. It's even defined that way officially. So that means the horizon has never been, is not now, and never will be a geometric location. So if it will never be a geometric location, then that means it's absolutely impossible for us to be living on a curved surface. Because if we were living on a curved surface, the horizon would have a geometric measure.
I see. Now that does make it interesting, but it's still a logical inference. But I see where you're going. It's epic. It's still not going to be part of the Black Swan argument, so you're still wrong. But you are so right, because, yeah, if you're on a curved surface of any description, then you must, and you have to have a geometric limitation to your view based on that surface. That's what it would form. Not might, not only in the maths, not never no atmo day so you can't see it. You would have one. There'd be a geometric, because it is a physical limitation to your view if it's a curved surface. Now, if you don't have that physical limitation to your view, that leaves you with only one logical extraction from the Black Swan. It must be a flat surface because there is no geometric limitation to your view. Correct, Brian?
Well, yeah, because even any claims of refraction based on the geometric location means nothing because you don't have the geometric location. So all you have is an optical location. So you can't, like, as you said yourself, if there is a curved surface, there will be a geometric location. There will be a blockage, a physical blockage. And we don't have that. We've never had it. We don't have it now. We never will, because the horizon is an optical location. So even a claim of refraction means absolutely nothing, because, as we all know, you'd have to have the geometric location and be able to show it and prove it to have a refractive argument. So it's like the refractive argument is basically, it's just like they're arguing that it's optical. Yeah, because it's not geometric, so it's not curved. That's basically it.
Yeah, it must be flat. There isn't an alternative.
It's no coincidence that they know how our eyeballs work. And of course, there's pockets of holes that we can find in this even. But basically, they've taken the way our eyes work and said that, okay, it has to be a curve because of our limitation of our eyes. And they've made the curve out of nothing, just out of our optical eyes, the way they work. We can't see forever. We can't see London from New York. They know that. But they say, yeah, if you lived on a flat earth, you could, which is nonsense, because you got compression, you've got diffraction limit, so they know the distance of our eyes and how precise it can be. Of course, then when you pull out the P900 and take a shot like BLMSB 69 did, it just destroys that as well. But they based it on that. And so they're able to get away with it because of the limitations of our eyes, but they can't fight it because, as Brian says, it has to be geometric, but it's optical.
Right, you shouldn't be able to change the limitation of your geometric horizon with focal length and zoom. But we can, because the horizon's not Earth curve. If it was, it would remain in a fixed geometric limitation, and it wouldn't make any difference how much you zoomed. It would just be physically blocking things in the distance. As they assert in their Earth curve maths, I might add, because that's exactly what they claim.
Well, the old original argument that a lot of people on our side have poo-pooed of we see too far. I mean, people on our side have poo-pooed that and have put it down and said that's not a good argument.
I have.
Said,
it's a terrible argument. Too far when you assume that we've got a limitation. So too far meaning we should be seeing up to the limitation, but we're seeing beyond it. So too far. When I assume a sphere limitation, bad, very bad.
No, I understand that. And I applaud you for pointing that out. And I know you've pointed that out a long time ago now. But when you use, I'm kind of talking from a 2015 point of view. In 2015, we could see too far because we were told that you can't see that far. In 2021, we know you can see that far, and you can see as far as the optics and the atmos allows you to. And your elevation and whatever else. There's things go into it, but the only limit is the limit, and one of those limits is not a geometric horizon. So, if we can see further than we were told we should be able to see, right? That means that what we're told of what the Earth is can't be. It's very simple, if you know what I mean. Like, if the Earth is a sphere with a 3959 radius, then I should not be able to see X distance from X elevation. I can't see X distance from X elevation, so the Earth cannot be a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles. If you understand what I mean.
Well, that's just the Black Swan argument.
Yeah, yes, it is. But the Black Swan argument is like, well, we can see out there from this height. So
yeah, it's still the same. It's a simplified version of the same argument. I'm not knocking it, Brian. I'm not saying that's bad.
I know I'm not speaking about anything groundbreaking here. I'm just kind of like on our side. The logical side of it, and that you pointed out ages ago, and I totally agree with, is what do you mean we shouldn't be able to see that far? I mean, that would be a mental restriction where we're basing how far we can see on what we're on a globe model. But I'm coming from the simplistic point of a 2015 attitude of, well, I can't see that far, so that means anyone who's telling me I can't is wrong.
No, gotcha.
I'm not going to argue about it. I just making the point of sometimes we attack and put down some of our original arguments when the simplistic arguments are the best, aren't they? How simplistic is the horizon as an argument?
I totally agree.
Nathan said it over.
No, I totally agree. Just to round that out, the horizon's not Earth curve. It's the simplest argument you can make. It's the most concise way you can debunk anything they say. Well, we see Earth curve from this altitude. The horizon's not Earth curve. Go ahead, Tent.
Yeah, on that point, but they say the horizon is Earth curve, but they can't prove it because the horizon is not Earth curve. But you said it earlier. You can't change the physical nature of the horizon if in their model it's Earth curve at that point, depending on your height of observation, by zooming in with a camera. If you can zoom in on the camera and move that much real estate, we got a problem.
Yeah, you can't move physical limitations by changing an aperture size. It's just not what happens. If something's physically in the way of the camera, it's physically in the way of the camera, regardless of how much you zoom in on it.
Exactly. And that's why the Black Swan is awesome. And that's why circle of equal altitude in the way the sextant is used on the ocean is the radius from 3 separate sightings. Give you 3 separate circle of equal altitudes. They cross, and there's your fix. And the GP of each of those 3 stars are a radius line to the observer. That's a straight line.
Perfect. With that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels, all of you for smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Also below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on a premiering stream, and I'll see you all in the next video.
every day.